I'm Jacob from Northrock Bikes. Congratulations on the purchase of your bicycle. Today we're going to go over steps for assembling your bike. So our first step is to remove the bicycle from the box. Located in the box is the seat and seat post, which you can remove and set to the side. Also the small parts box, which contains the small parts needed to assemble the bicycle, as well as the parts list, your owner's manual, and instructions for assembly. Please look over those documents before you begin assembling the bicycle. Once you've done that, grasp the bicycle by the frame. And remove it from the box. Now we want to put the box and bicycle somewhere stable so that the bike is secure and in a position that you feel comfortable working on it. Next, we want to remove the protective packaging from the bicycle. During this step, be careful not to use anything sharp that could damage the finish of your bike. So two considerations when you're removing the packaging from the bicycle. The first is that if you're not using a stand to assemble the bicycle, leave the plastic protectors in the forks. That will protect your forks while you assemble the bicycle. And the second is that your bicycle ships with a protector on the rear hub. This is not part of the bicycle, and you do want to remove this. The bicycle comes shipped with the non-drive side crank arm between the spokes of the front wheel. When you're removing the front wheel from the bike, you want to pull it towards the front of the bike and then off. Do not pull the wheel away from the bicycle. That can damage your spokes. Our next step is to rotate the fork and stem so that they are facing the forward direction, and shipping they're facing backwards. You just grasp the stem, rotate it so that it's facing forwards. There are three ways you will know that the stem is facing the correct direction. The first is the arrow on the fork blades. The second is that your brakes should be on the front of the bicycle and the front of the fork. And thirdly, the word front will be on a sticker on the front of the forks. We want to make sure that the stem is perpendicular to the fork of the bicycle. In the event that it is not perpendicular, loosen the bolts on the stem, rotate the stem as needed, and then tighten the bolts on the stem. It's important to achieve equal snugness in each of these bolts. Our next step is to install the handlebars into the stem. In order to do this, we need to remove the stem cap by loosening the stem cap bolts. Put the stem cap somewhere safe. Now we want to position the handlebars in the stem. At this point, we want to make sure that the cables are in front of the head tube. None of the cables have looped around behind the head tube, and that they form smooth loops from the shifter or brakes all the way to the cable stops on the frame. You want to position your handlebars so that the brakes and handlebars are at about 45 degrees to the ground. Reinstall the stem cap and tighten the stem cap bolts. It's important to alternate as you tighten these bolts so that you achieve equal snugness in each of them. It's also important as you install the handlebars into the stem to make sure the handlebars are centered so that you don't have more handlebars on one side of the stem than the other. Our next step is to install the seat and seat post into the frame of the bicycle. As a best practice, put some medium weight bicycle grease inside the frame of the bike. We then want to open the quick release, insert the seat post into the frame, take care that the minimum insertion mark is not showing. Once you have the saddle at the desired height, close the quick release. Next, we want to open the front brakes. We do this by squeezing the brake arms together, pulling the brake noodle out of its housing, and that allows the brake arms to fall open. Now we're going to put the front wheel onto the bike. First thing we need to do is remove the protectors from the hub. One on each side. You just pull them away from the hub and they come off. Next, we want to make sure that the front wheel is facing in the forward direction of rotation. The arrow on the rim of the wheel should be in the direction of forward rotation. Now that we've established the directional rotation of the front wheel, we're going to install the quick release into the front hub. To do this, you unscrew the side of the quick release that does not have a lever on it. Remove one of the springs. Put them somewhere safe. Next, install the shaft of the quick release into the hub of the bicycle. Make sure that the spring on the lever side of the quick release has the large side facing away from the hub. Place the other spring onto the other side of the quick release. Again, make sure that the large side of the spring faces away from the hub. And reinstall the nut on the other side of the quick release. If you're not using a stand to assemble your bicycle, it might be useful to put down your kickstand. We're going to put the front wheel into the fork blades. Make sure that the lever on the front wheel is on the same side of the bicycle as the quick release lever on the back wheel. We want to make sure that the fork blades sit snugly on the front hub. Tighten the quick release using the nut on the side that does not have a lever on it. And then engage the quick release. You will know the quick release is properly snug when it leaves an indentation on the palm of your hand. Next, we're going to close the front brakes. Do this by inserting the brake noodle back into its housing. Our next step is to install the pedals on the bicycle. Pedals come shipped with stickers indicating the right and left pedal. Right and left is also stamped on the axle of the pedal. Now we're going to install the right pedal on the drive side of the bicycle. As a best practice, please place some medium weight grease on the pedal axle. Then hand tighten the pedal into the crank arm. It's important to hand tighten the axle of the pedal until it is completely flush with the crank arm. If you meet any resistance, please back out and try again. Once you have hand tightened the pedal onto the crank, use the included wrench to snug the pedal. Now we're going to install the left pedal on the non-drive side. Again, place some grease on the pedal axle. And begin to hand tighten the pedal axle onto the crank arm. It's important to remember that the left-handed pedal tightens counterclockwise, which is opposite of most bolts. Again, hand tighten the pedal axle so that it is completely flush with the crank arm. Once you have hand tightened the axle flush with the crank arm, again use the included wrench to snug the bolt. Next, we want to inflate the tires to the proper PSI, which is located on the sidewall of the tires. Please use a bicycle pump to do this. Next, we're going to install our front reflector onto the handlebars. Make sure the reflector is facing directly in front of the bicycle. Now our bicycle is fully assembled. We're going to give it a last check. To do that, you give the handlebars a pull. Repeat that procedure on the saddle. If you find that the saddle is moving, tighten the nut on the quick release. That's the side that does not have the lever on it. Close the quick release and check again. Lastly, we want to check that the brakes are stopping the bicycle. To do this, simply roll the bike and squeeze the brakes, making sure that the brakes are stopping the bike. Before you take your first ride, please read your owner's manual, have your bike checked by a specialist, always wear a helmet and obey the rules of the road, and have a great ride.